and gentlemen, one of the best presidents that the United States has ever had, President Bill
Clinton. Whoa, it's working. Thank you. Good morning, Orlando. Good morning, UCF. I want to thank Governor Charlie Crist for the work he has done for President Obama in this election. I want to thank my friend of 30 years, Senator Bill Nelson, for serving. Are you going to re-elect him? I want to thank Mayor Buddy Dyer, one of my earliest supporters when I started running for president. And thank you, President John Hitt, for welcoming me back to UCF. And folks, I was supposed to be the warm-up man for President Obama today. But that storm on the East Coast had other ideas. You can't imagine how powerful it is. Well, you can. You live in Florida. You know about that. But he came here. We talked last night till fairly late. We planned this whole rally. And he called me. He said, I got to go back. It's going to be worse than we thought, and it's going to hit south of where we thought. So keep your fingers crossed for your fellow Americans today. All up the East Coast, we're preparing in New Jersey and New York and elsewhere in Pennsylvania to try to deal with this. Now, in just a few days, we're going to make a decision. The early voters are already making decisions. You know what our decision is. What I want to do is to make sure everybody who agrees with us votes, and anybody we can still reach is reached. I hope the people of Florida have been good to me, and I hope that I have some credibility on the kind of approach that creates more jobs and higher incomes and how to balance the budget. I am Republican. That's because an economy and a policy built to empower the middle class and give poor people a chance to work their way into it works better than an economy built from the top down. Always has and always will. A country, you look all over the world today, countries that have policies that say we're all in this together work better than countries that say you're on your own. And policies based on evidence work better than policies based on ideology. And budgets based on arithmetic work a lot better than those based on illusion. Now, here we are in Orlando, Exhibit A for the 21st century economy at UCF. You know, I give you guys so much free publicity around America. But look, think of it. Government, business, education, everybody cooperating. How did Orlando become the computer simulation capital of America? Because the Disney World, yes. Because of the Universal Park, yes. Because Global Entertainment Arts Video Game Division is here, yes. Anybody like me who's ever been hooked on a video game knows that to get that kind of frantic addiction, you have to have good computer simulation. Because the Pentagon and NASA spend $5 billion on computer simulation. It's a lot cheaper and safer to teach someone to drive a tank, fly a jet airplane, or put a spaceship up on a simulator than the real deal. And because of UCF, because every semester you train people for the jobs that are going to be there, not the jobs that aren't. And because you're professors, if they develop a new idea that advances a new technology under a great old bipartisan idea begun way back in 1980 in President Carter's last year, the university can license new technology to a new company. And the earnings can be put back into your education, back into research and development, back into building a modern economy. Folks, that's the kind of thing that works. Now, that's the kind of approach Barack Obama has taken to America's challenges. When he took office, he had run for nearly 2 years in the weakest economy in modern times. Before the crash, the economy only produced 2.6 million jobs. That's about a tenth as many as were produced when I was president. Then the crash happened. The worst financial crisis since the Depression. And he stopped us from sliding in depression and began the wrong road back. Every single comparative analysis that I read, and I spent a lot of time on this, talks about how much better America did after the crash than Europe, because President Obama and the Congress invested in putting America back to work. In the last 32 months, listen to this, we lost jobs for 14 months after the president took office. We were losing 800,000 jobs a month when he took the oath of office. His opponent, Governor Romney, acts like he was responsible for every one of them from the second he took his hand off the Bible. I swear, you know, there was a certain unreal quality to those debates. But anyway, so first he had to stop the slide into depression and put a floor under it. And then we began to claw our way out. When I was at the Democratic Convention, I said no president who ever served, including me, could have brought this economy all the way back in 4 years. But what you need to know, you don't have to take my word for it, look at the experts. The most important book written on financial crises in the last decade or more is called This Time It's Different by Kenneth Rogoff and Carmen Reinhart. Rogoff is a Nobel Prize winning economist from Harvard, and I think he's a moderate Republican. But he's one of these evidence guys. He must be uncomfortable in their party now. But I called him and I said, could anybody have prepared this economy in 4 years? He said, you've got to be kidding. He said, most places it takes 10 years or more. I said, what's the best we can do? He said, well, we're doing better than other people. He said, if we stay on this course that the government has taken, we can maybe get out of it in 8 years, maybe even 7, because we've got lots of energy. We've got the number 1 or 2 country in the world that capacity to generate electricity from the sun and the wind. We have the best university system, all these research and development capacity. He said, maybe we could get out of it in 7 or 8 years. He said, nobody could have gotten out of it in 4 years. But we have had 5.3 million new jobs in the last 32 months, twice as many as we got in the previous 8 years before the meltdown. Manufacturing jobs are growing by 500,000 for the first time since the 1990s. And there are 250,000 more Americans making automobiles thanks to the automobile restructuring plan. A plan the president engineered and Governor Romney opposed that saved more than 1 million jobs, not just at GM and Chrysler, but all up and down the supply chain. In Florida, more than 269,000 jobs depend on the auto industry. That's about 2.5% of your total employment. And look, I grew up in this business. I know what happened. You know that while Governor Romney was opposing the automobile restructuring plan, The Japanese and German car manufacturers who didn't get a penny out of it with manufacturing operations in the United States were for it. Why? Because they knew if GM went down, the suppliers would go down and their operations would go down and we'd be all in the sink. So we're all in this together works better than you're on your own, and that's why the American car business is roaring today.